have cured death.
Jog off! We're still vassals, slaves.
well with the family. Just a heads up, we're expecting those troublemakers at Disrupt to attempt to hack the channel during the broadcast. So keep an eye on the interference screen and stay out of the orange. Let's keep the news on the air. It's important, now more than ever.
Screaming at some pensioners while they try and fashion a nutritious meal out of a can of peanuts milk, a cow's tongue, and some yeast.
So, Julia's team have asked me to ask you to keep it light.
Well, what does that mean?
It means to do that thing you do where you turn politicians into humans. Just don't get drawn into talking about the war or politics in general. Really.
They do know this is the news, don't they?
You didn't hear this from me, I thought. Apparently, there's a crew at Team HQ right now.
The sport game.
They'll get on the news.
Oh, great. So they get the brains and we get the performing monkey.
Sometimes you sound just like him, you know.
How are you?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I miss him too, you know.
10 seconds, everybody. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening. This is the National Nightly News. I'm Megan Wolfe. It's the 140th day of war. Our main headlines tonight. Company of heroes. Skirmishes on land and sea again today as our armed forces tested the mettle of the World Council's illegal blockade. Advance's strategy of multiple small-scale incursions into the disputed zone is certainly keeping the enemy on high alert, unable to work out where or when the next strike will come. Proud parents throughout the territory find themselves ever more impressed by the bravery and commitment of their incredible children and the job they're doing keeping supply lines open against all possible odds. Don't starve. Advance's food programme moved from strength to strength today as rationing depots were opened in the last remaining unfed areas of the territory. The rationing depots have been constructed in record time, and the government's agricultural coordination strategy has seen shelves restocked with increasing regularity. However, with the reported rise in mental and physical health issues since the imposition of the blockade, critics have questioned whether those smaller communities which are only now starting to receive help could have been better and quicker served. 7 days to die. The recent decision to allow those with long-term health conditions to access transition centres has today been declared an overwhelming success. Previously available only to those in their final years, the expansion of the service has been met with relief by the many organisations calling for it to be opened up to the wider community. The transition centres have reported larger than expected numbers, but report that they are coping well and able to provide a complete and meaningful service to all who choose to use it. Populace. More than 11% of the population have thus far failed to register for a team membership card, a worrying statistic given that the cards are a legal requirement from midnight tonight. While applications are still open for those who like to run fashionably late, they can expect a few tricky questions from Advance. Start me up. Disrupt spokesman Alan James held an impromptu rally today in the northern city of Manchester. Large crowds gathered to hear the band speaker prove Disrupt are still able to capture the public's imagination. Community cohesion officers found themselves challenged by the unruly mob element always present at Disrupt events, but thankfully managed to keep violent incidents to a minimum. And finally, absent friends. Sad news today as the grave of former National Nightly News host Jeremy Donaldson is vandalised by radical Disrupt activists. The much-loved broadcaster suffered a very tragic public breakdown 10 weeks ago in an incident which ultimately cost him his life. Disrupt spokesman Alan James, whose organisation last week named Mr Donaldson as the cause's first martyr, described the graffiti as a fitting tribute to a hero of the resistance. But first tonight, with the war about to enter its 21st week, I'll be chatting with Peter Clement live in an exclusive team talk from his home in Lancashire. Don't go away, you won't want to miss a second of tonight's National Nightly News. programme, I'm thrilled to say I'll be chatting with mega pop star Lil C, who's going to be treating us to a world premiere of her new single. And then after that, in part 3, we've got something new I promise you won't want to miss. But first tonight, let's check in with Prime Minister Peter Clement, who's coming to us through the magic of television all the way from his home in Landfordshire. Are you receiving me, Prime Minister?
Loud and clear, Miss Wolf. Loud and clear.
Well, let's start with the obvious. What's that in your hand, Prime Minister?
Cheeky cow. But yeah, it's true. 75 days without an alcoholic drink, and I've got to say, I'm beginning to feel the benefits.
It certainly looks that way.
Well, I made a promise to Mrs. C, and as my old man used to say...
A promise is worth keeping?
It was something like that, only with assholes.
So, I've heard from my sources that you and the illustrious Mrs. C plan to take your winter break somewhere a little different this year.
That's right. We're planning a walking holiday right here in the territories, which is different for us because, like you, Megan, I've always been a big fan of those warm foreign beaches.
Did you make this decision because of the blockade, Prime Minister?
Well, that's a good question. Well, as you know, one blockade has...
Just a heads up, we're expecting those troublemakers at Disrupt to attempt to hack the channel during the broadcast, so keep an eye on the interference screen and stay out of the orange. Let's keep the news on the air. It's important, now more than ever.
So, Julia's team have asked me to ask you to keep it light.
What does that mean?
It means to do that thing you do where you turn politicians into humans. Just don't get drawn into talking about the war or politics in general, really.
They do know this is the news, don't they?
You didn't hear this from me, but apparently there's a crew at Team HQ right now. I think she's giving a speech or something tonight. They'll get it on the late news.
Oh, great. So they get the brains and we get the performing monkey.
Sometimes you sound just like him, you know.
Which tells the cautionary tale
How are you?
of brave young ladies' battles to survive the cruel administrations of our neighbours.
It is what it is.
11:25, it's incisors.
It is what it
Tonight,
is.
Dr. Adrian Atkinson Blimey
I miss him
getting
too,
his
you know.
teeth into Fiona from Handel Bandley, who's
10 seconds, everybody.
on the hump
Rumpled
biscuit. And that takes us after the weather and public information
Going in
film
5,
to our close down.
4,
But first
3,
It's time to join Megan and the team for the National Night.
Good evening. This is the National Nightly News. I'm Megan Wolfe. It's the 140th day of war. Our main headlines tonight. Company of heroes. Skirmishes on land and sea again today as our armed forces tested the mettle of the World Council's illegal blockade. Advance's strategy of multiple small-scale incursions into the disputed zone is certainly keeping the enemy on high alert, unable to work out where or when the next strike will come. Proud parents throughout the territory find themselves ever more impressed by the bravery and commitment of their incredible children and the job they're doing keeping supply lines open against all possible odds. Don't starve. Advance's food programme moved from strength to strength today as rationing depots were opened in the last remaining unfed areas of the territory. The rationing depots have been constructed in record time, and the government's agricultural coordination strategy has seen shelves restocked with increasing regularity. However, with the reported rise in mental and physical health issues since the imposition of the blockade, critics have questioned whether those smaller communities which are only now starting to receive help could have been better and quicker served. 7 days to die. The recent decision to allow those with long-term health conditions to access transition centres has today been declared an overwhelming success. Previously available only to those in their final years, the expansion of the service has been met with relief by the many organisations calling for it to be opened up to the wider community. The transition centres have reported larger than expected numbers, but report that they are coping well and able to provide a complete and meaningful service to all who choose to use it. Populace. More than 11% of the population have thus far failed to register for a team membership card, a worrying statistic given that the cards are a legal requirement from midnight tonight. While applications are still open for those who like to run fashionably late, they can expect a few tricky questions from Advance. Start me up. Disrupt spokesman Alan James held an impromptu rally today in the northern city of Mankipool. Large crowds gathered to hear the band speaker prove Disrupt are still able to capture the public's imagination. Community cohesion officers found themselves challenged by the unruly mob element always present at Disrupt events, but thankfully managed to keep violent incidents to a minimum. And finally, absent friends. Sad news today as the grave of former National Nightly News host Jeremy Donaldson is vandalised by radical Disrupt activists. The much-loved broadcaster suffered a very tragic public breakdown 10 weeks ago in an incident which ultimately cost him his life. Disrupt spokesman Alan James, whose organisation last week named Mr Donaldson as the cause's first martyr, described the graffiti as a fitting tribute to a hero of the resistance. But first tonight, with the war about to enter its 21st week, I'll be chatting with Peter Clement live in an exclusive team talk from his home in Lanfordshire. Don't go away. You won't want to miss a second of tonight's National Nightly News. Programme, I'm thrilled to say I'll be chatting with mega pop star Lil C, who's going to be treating us to a world premiere of her new single. And then after that, in part 3, we've got something new I promise you won't want to miss. But first tonight, let's check in with Prime Minister Peter Clement, who's coming to us through the magic of television all the way from his home in Lanfordshire. Are you receiving me, Prime Minister?
Loud and clear, Miss Wolfe. Loud and clear.
Well, let's start with the obvious. What's that in your hand, Prime Minister?
Cheeky cow. But yeah, it's true. 75 days without an alcoholic drink, and I've got to say, I'm beginning to feel the benefits.
It certainly looks that way.
Well, I made a promise to Mrs. C, and as my old man used to say...
a promise is worth keeping?
But something like that, only with assholes.
So, I've heard from my sources that you and the illustrious Mrs. C plan to take your winter break somewhere a little different this year.
That's right. We're planning a walking holiday right here in the territories, which is different for us because, like you, Megan, I've always been a big fan of those warm foreign beaches.
Did you make this decision because of the blockade, Prime Minister?
Well, now that's a good question. Well, as you know, while the blockade has effectively restricted the flow of goods into the country, we and our neighbours have continued to allow unimpeded travel for business leaders, ministers and such. So, although me and the missus could theoretically go to that gorgeous beach I just mentioned, it just doesn't smell much like team spirit to me. After all, as my old man used to say, when life gives you shite, make shite pie.
It works just as well with lemons and lemonade.
I suppose it does.
Prime Minister, maintaining a healthy body like yours at a time of national crisis must require some demanding planning. What's your regime and how do you go about it all?
Well, the truth be told, it's all down to Claude, my infinitely patient personal trainer. He's a man with a plan. I'm just the prat with the fat.
On that very subject, how are you and Mrs. C handling living on rations?
Well, let me tell you, Megan, back in the 50s, when I worked for you backstage for your Patrick Brannan's dad, did you know I did that?
I think everyone knows that, Prime Minister.
Well, what you probably didn't know was that Graham Bannon was a right tightwad, paid the bare bloody minimum and still found every possible excuse he could to dock your pay even further. I remember he once docked me a whole fiver for having an unacceptably smelly lunchbox type bastard. Anyway, what I'm saying is back then I ate a lot less than I am now, even under rationing. We all did. And let's face it, there are still plenty of people in this country who could afford to lose a little bit of weight.
What are you implying? No, but seriously, Prime Minister, we know you're very busy, but one final question, if I may.
Oh, well, go on then.
When you get home from a long day, your head full of the territory's hopes and fears, what music do you listen to when you work out to take your mind off things?
Well, I know I've got a bit of a reputation for being an old fuddy-duddy, but I'd be lying if I didn't say there's something about Little C that just demands one's attention.
Well, let's hope you stay watching, Prime Minister, because she is going to be talking and performing live after the break.
Oh, I'll be watching. After all, as my old man used to say, everything's a treat on a boring Friday with nothing but the wind up your shunt.
It's Wednesday, Prime Minister.
I think the expression still stands.
Peter Clement, thank you for joining me. I don't know about you at home, but I think there's something kind of inspirational there. I know I feel safer. When we come back, Lil C is going to be giving us the debut performance of her new single, and I'll be getting to meet her. As her biggest fan, I don't mind telling you I'm pretty excited. Don't go away. We'll be back after these messages.
1 minute back. Gripping stuff.
Was that even news?
I think you forgot to ask him what his favourite number is.
Oh, I must have forgotten that in all the excitement.
So assuming it's not vodka, what do you think's actually in that milk? I reckon it's the tears of his enemies.
You are one disturbed individual.
That's how I cope.
Make sure that you stay free to enjoy all of the benefits of our new society. We are not a territory that chooses to live in fear. We will not cower or avert our eyes at the sight of injustice. But we are a brave and daring people, and we have come together in ways...
You'll no doubt have spotted the updated mixing desk. You'll need the new buttons during the next sections. First, we'll need applause when the guest enters, and before her song. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it when we get there.
World-leading scientific and cultural communities. As a team, we have kept our people well fed throughout this war. Because as a team, we cannot fail to thrive, even in this most challenging of times. And one day, soon now, when this turbulent time is behind us, we will glide.
I've never heard of her before.
Future
Oh, she's really big.
Really?
as a team.
She any good?
Nah, of course not. She's dog shit.
For you.
But kids go mad for her, absolutely mad.
Live in 10 seconds.
Hang on, Colin, you've got kids.
Yeah, I've got about 6 or 7, I think.
What?
5, 4, 3.
Thanks for coming back. Later, we have an exciting new feature that we just know you're going to love, so stay tuned for that. But first, I'm really excited for our next guest. She rose to prominence as the delightful Susie May in All My Daughter's Children's Men, before taking the music industry by storm this year with her debut album smashing the chart records at the age of just 20. Let's give it up and welcome Lil C!
That's the stuff, excellent work.
May I just say, you look incredible.
Oh, thanks, babe. I'm doing this new regime and it really does work.
What's the regime?
My manager suggested it to me. It basically involves bathing in like cabbage water and then having the leaves sucked out of you while you sleep.
Wow, is that healthy?
Oh, well, look at me, Meg. The leaves are my only nourishment.
Yep, they certainly are. Now, you'll have to forgive me, but I'm somewhat of a super fan, so I'm sorry if I get a bit starstruck.
Oh, bless you. I've never actually heard of you before, so if you do get a little tongue-tied, I can always carry the interview.
Oh, that's good to know. So your first album, F My Face Together, it hit shelves this summer and it just exploded. I mean, what was that like for you?
Bonkers, just so weird. I was in all the papers and the magazines. Overnight, I went from that like annoying little girl from that show to that like sexy little girl from that show.
Wow, that must have been bizarre.
Not really, it was just like any other morning. You know, get up at 5, go on a 4-mile run, have 3 meetings on my cabbage bath, but then only then was my dad actually talking to me.
Oh, of course. I mean, the famed country singer, Billy Bob Jean Short. I didn't know you'd been estranged.
There's nothing that strange about it, Megan. Okay, yes, he may believe that aliens told him to hate women, but there really isn't anything to prove that he's wrong.
So, this newfound explosion to your popularity, I mean, did that change your life?
Well, I had to start wearing like nice underwear, you know, for the paparazzi, but as my manager says, best to make the most of it before I'm 30.
Is that right? So what's the album about?
So I thought it was about like how pretty and great I am, but actually it's about monetizing youth, I think, or about like promoting an unrealistic standard of beauty or something.
Your manager again?
Yeah, he says insecurity is an opportunity.
Oh, do you think he'd be happy with you telling us all this?
Telling you all what? It really doesn't matter what I say here. I'll do my dancing and then this part will all be forgotten about.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, we're going to see some of those famous dance moves very shortly because you're going to be performing your new single, aren't you?
Yeah, it's from my album Put It In My A Together and it's out tomorrow.
So soon, after the last one?
Oh yeah, I've actually released 2 albums since lunchtime and a clothing line during this interview. See, this is called Cry for Help and it's going to be in all the best high street and retailer shops and it's out now. So girlies, you know what to do. Scream and cry until somebody gets it for you.
Ooh, there she goes. Blimey. all these projects, they're keeping you very busy, aren't they? It must be tough.
Yeah, it can get tough and I hate it sometimes and I hate myself. I just want to like cry into a bath of root veg. But then I think thousands of girls would do anything to be me, so I must be quite lucky.
Well, you know you don't have to do this though, don't you?
Yeah, I do think that sometimes. Most nights between like my 4th vodka and the 8th time a stranger slaps me around the arse. I think things could have been different, you know, like better. But I don't know. I love doing autographs and having somebody dress me and tell me what to wear.
Did you always want to do music?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I did. I'd sit in front of the radio, and as soon as my favourite girl group would come on, I'd press record on my cassette. But then my dad would come in and tell me to turn it off and to go back upstairs and start practicing again.
Sorry, is your dad your manager?
Yeah, which can be tough. And sometimes when it gets really hard, he'll say, "Make Quagler proud, and you might just survive childbirth."
Well, you know what, despite anything, you'll make me proud.
Oh, if only your opinion was as valuable as his.
And on that problematic note, you're going to be singing your song for us soon, aren't you? Tell me about it.
So it's called These Babies Gonna Bring You Home, and I actually got sent the lyrics in the car on the way up here. But you know what, it's actually all right. And don't worry, all my work is team approved.
All right then, well, you can go and get ready for that. We'll see you in a little bit. It was a very specific type of pleasure to chat to her, and I just can't wait to hear this. Oh, so, here's Lil C with an exclusive first performance of her new track, These Babies Gonna Bring You Home. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's the Force's favorite. The Queen of Teams. Here to break in your blockades. Lil C.
Oh baby, can't you see I'm hungry? There's a place in me that's empty. I want that meat you're packing. Only you can fill that crack in me. I'm under siege, so come and free me. Ain't no disruption here, boy, I got no agenda. Just want the team and me. Nobody foreign member. Don't stop no morning drill. There's holes in me that ain't been filled yet. I only scream this loud when you do your country proud. I ain't no vicar's daughter. Come and skirmish on my border. Quick before I get much older. Tie me down and hold me like an enemy soldier. An enemy soldier. So let them try and break our dream. We fight and love and die at team. So wanna be at Clemens Boys and come and use me as a toy. I wanna see some action. So come and break my sanctions. I've been this wild and free since my mom burdened me. She was only 53, but gave to save her family. There's no one judging me if I'm the one that's in your fantasy. Don't die alone, these babies gonna bring you home. I ain't no vicar's daughter, come and skirmish on my border. Quick before I get much older, tie me down and hold me like an enemy soldier. An enemy soldier. So wanna be the Clemens Boys and come and use me as a toy. And flip me over, grab my hair, rip off my clothes and dump them there. I wanna see some action, so come and break my sanctions.
Well, if that doesn't distract you from the world outside, I don't know what will. I'd like to thank Lil C for doing that. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll finally be revealing the new segment of our show that we just know you're going to love. We'll be back right after this.
And we're out.
Can I just say, thank you so much for letting me do this. It really means a lot to me, you know.
Yeah.
To be able to promote myself on such a mainstream platform like the news.
Well, don't worry about it. And you know what? Good luck for the future. Take care of yourself. This industry can be crazy sometimes. Watch out for that father of yours, won't you?
Oh, no. I manage myself. It's just, you know, for the public to have that certain perspective on me. You know what it's like.
Oh, right.
And Michael? Michael?
What about Billy Bob Jeanshort? Is he?
Oh, my dad. He's such a sweetheart. We both had the same agents, you know, like it just made sense. Both of us for our image together.
Wow.
And Michael, I want to see the revenue share for the clothing line and get me a G&T before my meeting with the lube guys. If they say for your pleasure, I'm going to start needing it.
This next section will need you to use all 4 of the sound effects to help things along. Try and pick the most appropriate one at each given moment. The actors can't hear what you're doing, so they'll be trusting you to make the
flowers
right
in my
choices.
dressing room.
There were exactly 12, as it said in your rider.
Do I look like the sort of person who counts things? No, not anymore. I'm better than that now. I'll tell you what, Just keep adding flowers until it feels like 12. Got it?
Absolutely, right away. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
Thanks for joining us for part 3. We've been teasing you about our new feature all night, and now the wait is finally over. I can reveal that every night on the show, we'll be treated to an episode of an informative and hilarious new segment called The Notice Board. It stars some top talent, and we're very excited about it. But before we see it, let's have a quick chat with the writer, director, and phenomenon, may I say, Jeff Algebra, guys.
Actually, I've got the algebra. I go by Jeff DePlume now. How'd you like that?
Yeah, very fancy. I suppose you need a new name now that you're a successful artiste.
Well, exactly. I'm earning enough to pay taxes now.
Oh.
It's shit.
And how does Angela feel about all this? Your wife. Your wife.
Oh, God, no. No, she's long gone. No, she was holding me back. I'm with Norm now. We were married last month.
Norm DePlume.
Yeah.
Norm DePlume.
Yeah.
And why did you write this? What was your inspiration?
Oh, well, I received a telephone call offering me 25 grand to write a protein sitcom, and I heard my father's voice. It said, Jeff, listen here, boy. You make hay while the sun shines. You wring every penny you can get out of this. So I wheeled him down to the transition centre, got out my typewriter and started clacking. Utter shite.
And without further ado, let's give it up for the notice board.
Excellent, you're a net. Keep it up.
Good morning, Miss Craven.
Oh,
Miss Craven.
morning, Ray.
Everything all right, Mrs. Craven? You look as worried as the vicar in closing time.
Oh, Ray, it's those young louts. They've vandalised my shop again.
No!
Yes! They've written all sorts of obscene language and crude pictures, and I know it's those damn youths.
I don't know. It could be the vicar at closing time.
I'm just worried they won't ever become productive members of the community. What if they never see the error of their ways and end up as social outcasts, such as shoplifters or bong rats?
Don't worry, Mrs. Craven. This is a very supportive community, and I'm sure that in time they will fit into this society like this key into this lock. See? Works like a charm.
What a lovely way to put it, Ray. And just like that, we can unlock their future.
Yes. Wow! Look at all the letters in my collection today.
Oh, I think that one's addressed to me.
What? This one? Oh, so you're right. Here it is.
It's a letter from my granddaughter, Brenda. She says she got an A on her maths exam because one of her friends has been helping her. She was always a team player, was our Brenda.
What's up, losers?
Oh, no. It's Brad. He's the coolest guy in the village.
That's right. I just got here on my motorbike.
Oh, clear off, Brad. We don't want any of your ilk around here.
What? Rad dudes?
No. Ruffians! Have you come to tag the notice board with your gang signs?
No way. I've actually come to pin my resume on that notice board. I'm looking to do some tutoring after school.
What? Did you say tutoring?
That's right.
Tutoring?
Maths is very important. Right. Would you mind, Ray?
Not at all.
So you, a young person, have been spending your time helping others and not just urinating on churches or huffing glue?
Hey, I haven't huffed glue for months.
Well, blow me down!
You know what? We misjudged you based on how young and cool you are and not on your actions.
No doy.
So it wasn't you who vandalised my shop last night or called me a rancid old crone from the back of a chopper?
No way. It can't have been me. I was too busy helping my friend Brenda with her maths homework.
Could you speak up there? I thought for a minute there that you said Brenda.
I did, you daft old sow.
Did you hear that, Ray?
Oh, yes, what a wonderful surprise. I now respect you as a man.
Put her there, Ray. Oh, what the heck? Give us a hug.
The first groundbreaking episode of the notice board, but we are receiving some breaking news. I'm being told we are picking up reports from across the continent of what appear to be what appear to be nuclear explosions in 4 major foreign cities. Initial estimates put the death toll into. They put them into millions. I'm being told we're experiencing some power shortages as a result, so apologies for the interruption. And apparently we can go live now to team headquarters for an emergency broadcast from Prime Minister Julia Salisbury any moment. Yes, let's go to that now. Yes, let's go to that now.
Good evening, citizens and leaders of the world. Minutes ago, operatives working for Advance detonated nuclear explosives simultaneously in 4 major cities across the continent. We have similar devices in 58 other urban centres and will not hesitate to detonate them if our conditions are not met in full and without delay. The people of our territory will no longer tolerate your illegal and genocidal blockade. You are to remove it immediately. We will accept nothing less than your unconditional surrender. Your territories will be taken under our control. We will install replacement governments to ensure that your citizens become part of the new future. Your borders are now our borders. Your people are our people. They will finally be fed and clothed and educated and healed. But for your privileged few, the moment that they feared is now upon them. Allow me to be crystal clear. If you fire a single shot at our territory or harm a single one of our citizens, we will not hesitate to detonate further devices. You will not find them, though no doubt you are already searching for them. Our technology is decades ahead of yours. We will expect your complete acceptance of our terms by midnight tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't really talk about my personal life in my job. It's not relevant or important. So many of you may be surprised to learn that I have a brother. His name is David. And right now I can't get his stupid face out of my head. He's a researcher and he's currently travelling the continent for work. And I don't know where he is right now. And I should imagine that there are many of you sitting at home tonight digesting this news, and you also have loved ones on the continent. In Urkistan, or Havia, or San Palmerino, or Konislava, which is where David was when I last spoke to him 3 days ago. So when I tell you I know how you are feeling tonight, believe me, I do. But I also know that there's a flow to events. I see it every day here. I know that although tonight it feels like we may be in a time of fear and darkness, we may actually be at the break of a new dawn. We don't know that yet. We can't know that yet. But together we will find out. And I will be here every night, feeling what you are feeling. And with your help, maybe we can all get to that brave new world. My name's Megan Wolfe. Let's make tomorrow better.
And we're out. I've got people ringing around, but the telephone networks are overloaded. We'll find him.
Do we know exactly which cities were hit, or?
Megan. We will find him.
Just the basics. So where on earth are you supposed to go for the other essentials?
Time's undone. We stayed out of the sun. The wealth of all our crew to earn, and fear and hate filled our overflowing plate. In the dark we'd wait, and then across a storm, a brand new golden morn. Win again, begin again, this fine never-ending dawn. We stand free of inequality, the good from all spread evenly. No lords, no slaves, we are tolerant and brave. Forward unafraid, and thus I take your hand, as one we stand. Dignity, unity, togetherness in this land.
This is Alan James. The revolution starts tonight, Alex. And we need your help.
We're so proud to be here today on this, the 500-day anniversary of the
choose. Alex, whose side are you on?
After all, doesn't your family deserve a good, nutritious meal in these difficult times?
But before we go, one final thought.
Jeremy?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm Andy.
And I'm Den. Jay, we said Zoom backgrounds.
Oh, sorry, boys. We're the developers of Not for Broadcast, and we want to thank you so much for supporting our little game so far.
We're now 2/3 of the way through the story.
But as we film this in January 2021, the UK is back in lockdown.
We don't know when we'll next be able to film with a full cast and crew.
So once again, we have to ask you to please be patient with us. And if you want to talk to us in the meantime, come chat with us on Discord at discord.gg/notforbroadcast.
We stream on Twitch every first and third Thursday of the month at twitch.tv/NotGamesUK. We always check the Steam forums for any suggestions or problems you may have.
And we read every Steam review, even the horrible ones, because your opinion matters to us.
So all that remains to say is thank you so much for playing our weird little game.
And
see you in episode 3. Probably, if I have come up with a skill by then, I will let you know. Last time it didn't go so well for me. So.
Good evening, I'm Megan Wolf.
And I'm Jeremy Dawes.
Good evening, I'm Megan Wolf.
And I'm Jeremy Dawes. Our main headlines tonight.